Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and it's my pleasure to be here to outline some details to continue the topic of diminished seventh chords. And today we're going to be looking at part three of our series. This is supporting Unit 4 of the Level 10 Harmony course that's provided through the Royal Conservatory of Music. Let's go over to the scanned copy of the book, and we'll look at a couple of ideas here. One is in particular on page 52, and it's got a fancy title. It's called Tonic Prolongation. Now, by playing this example, it will also help to outline what is written in the book. You can see this first example here. We have C major going to 7 diminished 7, or half diminished 7, I should say. Then we go back to C major again. We can also do 1 or C major going to diminished 7, then going back to C major. Now essentially you can see how the first chord and the third chord of this 3-chord progression is exactly the same. We have the same notes in the bass and also in the chord. Then we go to a chord and then we come back. So essentially you could think of each of these notes as, in air quotations, neighbor tones. So we call this tonic prolongation because basically the chord that's inserted in the middle of the progression is actually just creating a little bit of a spiciness to the melody, but there is no real big chord change that occurs afterwards. We're going exactly to the same chord we started with. So we call it a prolongation because of that repeat of the tonic chord. Now, tonic prolongation is actually a really useful tool and can be used especially when using inversions. You can see in example D here, we have 1/6, then 7 half diminished 7 to 1. So essentially the same idea, except that the first chord is a first inversion tonic chord, going to half diminished 7, then back to 1 again. So since there's not a lot of variety happening in the sense that there aren't many intricate changes of chording outside of 1, 5 diminished 7th, and then 1 again, prolongation basically means that instead of writing the one chord many times, or also thinking of the melody note as a neighbor tone and then not changing the harmony, we can change the harmony to what I call sometimes a harmonized neighbor tone, except that it's a chord that's very close by. All the notes are a step away, and then you go back to the original chord to create that nice sound, but without changing into something too drastic for the third part or the third chord of the progression. Now we can do this in various instances. We've seen dominant prolongation and tonic prolongation using other different types of chords, but the diminished 7th chord or half diminished 7th chord is really interesting because the sound from major to diminished 7 and then back again is just so different. It's so, not to say drastic, but definitely there's some spiciness in that progression that composers really enjoy using that. As well, the diminished 7th chord can be used in a passing idiom, which basically means that the bass note moves up by step. The harmony in the first and the third chord is the same, 1 going up to 1/6, but then the passing note, the harmonized passing note occurring above the middle chord of each of these progressions, is a diminished 7th chord in first inversion. So we can go from 1 to 7 diminished 7 to 1/6. Let me play that on the piano. 1, 7 diminished 7 in first inversion, going to 1/6. So it feels like the music is traveling somewhere. It sounds like the chord progression is moving somewhere different. But the function of the chords is actually fairly simple because we have 1 something in between, and then 1/6. But it just that something in between, the diminished seventh chord in an inversion, really creates a nice quality that changes things just a little bit. We can also do the same thing in a minor key as well, and it sounds equally cool. I'm a big fan of diminished seventh chords personally. So 1 in a minor key, going to diminished 7 in first inversion, then a 1 again. Let me play again. So you can really hear that stepwise movement in the bass, but at the same time, there's that sturdiness of the tonic chord. So the two different prolongation and passing idioms are really helpful when thinking about the diminished seventh chord, because the diminished seventh chord can be very much a part of progressions. We don't just think of the diminished seventh chord as something that's just not used very often. Especially in romantic music, composers really gravitated towards that chord because it creates a really nice and an interesting dramatic effect. So some of the aspects to summarize this topic are to think about using successful voice leading, to make sure to spell the chord correctly, to avoid augmented intervals when using different parts of the scale, especially in a minor key, especially between scale degree 6 and the raised scale degree 7. And also how the diminished seventh chord can be used as a secondary chord, as a secondary dominant, if you will, but using the diminished seventh chord in the dominant seventh's place. And also it can be used in tonic prolongation and also as a passing idiom or a passing chord. So there's a lot of very diverse uses of this type of diminished seventh chord. I hope that this information is helpful. It's always a pleasure to help and to provide interesting ideas. I personally really enjoy harmony and theory and love sharing this information with others. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to send the comments in the chat for this tutorial. And I look forward to seeing you next time for another video. Until then, bye for now.